Good artists copy, great artists steal. You know the quote. You've seen it on pitch decks, studio walls, designer Instagram bios. It's attributed to Picasso, though even that attribution might be stolen. Steve Jobs repeated it on camera in 1996. It became Silicon Valley gospel. But nobody ever finishes the sentence. Nobody ever asks the obvious question. What, specifically, did Picasso steal? From whom? And where did the stolen goods end up? They ended up everywhere. On your phone, on your laptop, on every simplified geometric sans serif surface in the built world. The most successful heist in the history of design didn't happen in a gallery. It happened in an ethnographic museum in Paris, sometime around 1906, when a Spanish painter walked past a glass case full of objects taken from Central and West Africa, looked at a fang mask, and saw the future of Western art. The mask's creator was not recorded. The mask's meaning was not preserved. The mask's formal innovation, its radical abstraction of the human face into planes and geometry, was lifted, repurposed, and signed by someone else. That signature is still collecting royalties. Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, 1907. 5 nude figures. 2 of them wear faces that are not faces. They are fang masks and coda reliquary figures grafted onto European bodies in a European brothel scene. Picasso initially denied the African influence, then admitted it. Then the art world spent a century deciding it didn't matter, because what Picasso did with the influence was genius. And maybe it was. But genius doesn't erase the source. It just makes the source harder to find. Cubism emerged from that painting. And Cubism did not emerge from nothing. It emerged from objects that were in European museums because of military conquest, colonial extraction, and a classification system that called an unnamed African sculptor's spiritual object an artifact, and called Picasso's copy of it art. He was not alone. Matisse collected African sculptures and said so. Kirchner and Nolde studied them openly. Marsden Hartley folded Lakota symbols and teepee forms into his paintings in the 1910s, treating indigenous iconography as raw, formal material. None of them hit it. The erasure didn't happen at the point of contact. It happened downstream, in the institutions that told the story afterward. Jackson Pollock watched Navajo sand painters demonstrate their work on the museum floor at MoMA's 1941 exhibition, Indian Art of the United States. He saw artists working on the ground, building images through gesture and gravity and the direct relationship between body and surface. He took the method, made it secular, made it individual, made it enormous, and became the most celebrated American painter of the 20th century. The Navajo artists were performing a sacred ceremony. Pollock called it a technique. Now trace the pipeline forward. The formal vocabulary that Picasso, Pollock, Matisse, and Hartley extracted from indigenous traditions became the foundation of modernist art. Modernist art became the foundation of modernist design pedagogy. The Bauhaus, founded in 1919, codified the principles. Reduce to essential geometric forms, eliminate ornament, pursue universal visual communication. Those principles were already downstream from the masks and the sand paintings and the textiles, but by the time they reached Weimar, and then Dessau, and then Chicago, the source had been scrubbed clean. The Bauhaus begat the Swiss style. The Swiss style begat Helvetica, the grid, the corporate identity system. The corporate identity system begat every logo simplification you've watched happen in real time. MasterCard dropping its name, Google flattening to geometry, Spotify, Airbnb, every rebrand of the last decade converging on the same stripped circles and clean lines, the endpoint of a century-long drive toward abstraction. And the starting point was never Western. It was taken from people who were not credited, not compensated, and not considered artists. The 1984 MoMA exhibition made the pipeline visible. Curator William Rubin placed African and oceanic objects next to Picasso and Giacometti paintings and called the similarities affinities. The wall labels named every European artist. Not a single indigenous maker was identified. The masks were presented as anonymous raw material, as if they had grown from the earth rather than being carved by specific hands carrying specific knowledge within specific traditions. Critic Thomas McEvely reviewed the show in Art Forum and called it Western egotism still as unbridled as in the centuries of colonialism and souvenirism. He was right. But the exhibition also exposed something the design world still hasn't reckoned with. The entire visual grammar of modern branding, the reduction, the geometry, the claim of universality, passes through this same extraction. When a design firm says universal visual language, they're describing a language with a very specific, very non-universal origin that has been abstracted until its source became invisible. Calling indigenous forms universal is the mechanism by which the theft becomes untraceable. You dissolve the cultural specificity, credit the dissolution to Western genius, and call the result timeless. And the pipeline hasn't stopped. It's accelerated. Companies like Anthropology and Restoration Hardware routinely extract indigenous textile patterns, rebrand them as boho artisan or heritage modern, and sell them at luxury markups. The credit line reads, "Designed in Brooklyn." AI image generators are now training on the full corpus of modernist visual language, which means the uncredited extraction is being compounded at machine scale, laundered through another layer of abstraction. Every geometric logo an AI produces carries the ghost of a mask it has never seen and a maker it will never name. The strongest counter-argument is that all art is influence, all culture borrows, all forms travel. That's true, but influence between equals and extraction from colonized peoples are structurally different things. Yoruba artists did not choose to place their sculptures in Parisian museums. Navajo sand painters did not license their ceremonial practice to a downtown Manhattan gallery. The objects moved along the same routes as the raw materials of empire, and they were processed the same way: refined, repackaged, resold with a new label of origin. The design industry recognizes this move instantly when a competitor does it. It calls it brand laundering. It just doesn't like having the term applied to its own origin story. And there's something else. Indigenous practitioners describe their designs as encoding teachings, spiritual knowledge, cultural continuity. Every stitch, every line, every form carries meaning that is specific, inherited, and alive. What was extracted was treated as pure aesthetics. What was discarded was the entire system of meaning the aesthetics were built to carry. That is not influence. That is strip mining. Still, transformation is real. Cubism is not African art. Pollock is not Navajo. The modernist project produced genuinely new forms, and denying that would be as dishonest as denying the source. The discomfort isn't that Western designers transformed what they found. The discomfort is that transformation became the alibi. You take something specific, abstract it until its origin is unrecognizable, and then claim it as original. The design industry has a word for that process when clients do it. It's called a rebrand. So the next time you see a logo shed its ornament and flatten to geometry and call itself essential, ask what it's shedding. Ask whose complexity was stripped to make that simplicity feel clean. The minimalism isn't neutral. It has a passport, a route, a customs declaration that was never filed. Here's what I want to know. You've held the good artists steal quote in your head for years. Maybe repeated it yourself. Maybe put it on a slide. Now that you know what was stolen and from whom, does the quote land differently? Or does it land exactly the same, and you'd rather not say so? The next time you admire a perfect circle on a screen and feel that pull towards something clean and universal and inevitable, you'll know exactly whose hands shaped the original. This is the Threads of Culture.